Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 63. Well, as you know, the Knicks bust the Suns' ass last night. No, but they played well. And, the Suns made a couple of runs and things like that, and that's to be expected. Again, these are pro teams. These are players who have pride. They're going to play hard. And they played hard to the end, and Devin Booker's a very good player. And they really were trying to win the game. And the effort was there for the Phoenix Suns, but the Knicks were just too good last night, and especially Kristaps Porzingis. But speaking of Kristaps Porzingis, I have to bring up something, and this will be the last time I bring it up, at least right now, as long as nothing new happens. But Kristaps, again, that's why I didn't like his brother speaking out, had to answer for what his brother said, which he probably co-signed anyway. And Kristaps proceeded to bullshit us even further by saying it was taken out of context when they were quoting his brother. The stuff that his brother said was quoted. It wasn't out of context. They quoted it. They didn't say, oh, this is what we know. They actually quoted his words. And if you read the entire article, and I know one of you said you couldn't find the article on ESPN. Well, I don't know if you use Twitter. If you use Twitter and you following Ian Begley, that's I-A-N, Begley, B-A-B-E-G-L-E-Y. He's the one who broke the story. At least that's where I found it. Or if you go to ESPN, maybe you can search Ian Begley or whatever. He's a Knicks beat reporter, and he had broke the story. And basically, the media is going to give KP a pass because he's 22. He's balling out. He's the star right now. There's no reason to go at him right now. And so he dodged a bullet. As long as he plays well, as long as he's here, there's not going to be a problem. And I hope he had a talk with his brother and say, yo, next time, don't do that shit. Especially now. He should have, when he should have spoke? And during the off season. Before everything happened, that's when he should have spoke. Speaking up now, it really was counterproductive to everything the Knicks are trying to accomplish this season and trying to turn Kristaps Porzingis into that franchise player, first option type player. Now, another perfect segue. Speaking of a franchise player, I think that we throw that term around a little loosely. And there's a difference between a franchise player and a very good player, star player. Just like I've heard people say that superstar is another term that's thrown around too loosely, and I agree. Like great players, another one that's thrown around too loosely, and I agree. But let's stick with franchise player, right? A franchise player, for example, you see Devin Booker, right? He's balling out. He's putting up big points. He's not a franchise player. He doesn't change his team's fortunes. He's probably at best a number 2 and at worst a number 3. But he's not a number 1. See, a franchise player changes a team's fortunes. Let me give you an example. LeBron James, the best player in the NBA, you put him on any team, they're at least going to be a playoff team because he's a franchise player. Kevin Durant, you put him on almost any team, and they're going to make the playoffs. He's a franchise player. Russell Westbrook, last year, proved that he was a franchise player. He carried his team to the playoffs. Steph Curry as well. Now, I only named a handful, and there may be other franchise players, but right now, those are the ones, and that's basically my definition of a franchise player, not the one who's the best player on the team. The best player on the team is not a franchise player. Not always a franchise player, should I say. Because, again, a franchise player, the reason why they call him that It's because they are the franchise. They uplift everybody within the organization. They're able to win games single-handedly and make players around them better or seem better. LeBron, right out the gate, was a franchise player. Larry Bird was a franchise player. Magic Johnson was a franchise player. Players like that, you can win with ancillary parts with those players. Greek Freak, as good as he is right now, I'm not sure if he's a franchise player yet. He's becoming one, but I don't know if he's one yet. We'll see what he does with this Bucks team. Or better yet, you know what? I take that back. I can call him a franchise player because he has taken that team to the playoffs. Because that's what franchise players do. Melo at one point was a franchise player. When he was at Denver, he was a franchise player. When he first came to the Knicks, he was a franchise player. When he almost won MVP, he was a franchise player. But then he started to decline. So then he became, at best, as you see, the third best player on a great team. Kristaps Porzingis is becoming a franchise player. And I'm going to tell you this. If the Knicks make the playoffs with Kristaps playing this way, he's definitely a franchise player. And this is what I spoke of in the beginning of the season when people are saying the Knicks are only going to win 25 games and they just want to see improvement from Kristaps Porzingis. Well, I'm saying if this team only wins 20 to 25 games, then Kristaps is not a franchise player yet. Because a franchise player, their teams don't win 20 games. A real franchise player, if they're healthy and balling out, their teams never win just 25 games, 20 games, 30 games. For example, I think Embiid has the potential, if he's healthy, to be a franchise player. Why? Last year, he played a handful of games, and if he was able to play the whole season, they might have made the playoffs last year. In the games he played, look at the win record. They were winning those games. He was making the entire team better. That's what franchise guys do. They turn people like when LeBron was playing like with West. What's his name? Delonte West or whatever? Made him look like a damn star. Chris Paul, franchise player at one time. What did he do with New Orleans? They came out of nowhere. He made David West. David West wasn't even known. Tyson Chandler wasn't even known. Throwing alley-oops to those guys and getting those guys easy shots and wide open shots. That's what a franchise player does. They put wins up on the board. They don't just put up numbers. See, players who just put up numbers, that's what they are. They're players who put up numbers. They don't change the fortunes of the team or the franchise. Then they're not franchise guys. And that's why I think the term franchise and great is thrown around just based on numbers. The most important number is the win category. That's why a player as great as Dominique Wilkins was, look it up, averaging 28 points a game, things like that, it didn't result in a lot of wins. His team became good eventually because he was a scorer and they put the right pieces around him. But he couldn't carry that team until he learned. You can grow into, now I want to be clear, you can grow into a franchise player. Not everybody can just come in becoming a franchise player after 3 years. But if you look at Oklahoma City, they were stacked. But look at Kevin Durant's numbers. By year 3, I think he averaged like 28 points a game. Look at Dirk Nowitzki. By year 3, I think he was at 27, 28 points a game, 25 points a game, something like that. That's what franchise players do. Melo was a franchise guy. As soon as he got to Denver, they increased their win total by 24 games. Those are franchise guys, people. And I believe that Kristaps Porzingis is a franchise player. I believe so. That's why I figured I expect them to win more than what they're predicted to win. I expect him to contend for a playoff spot. If he's a franchise guy, like we believe he is, if he's the unicorn like we believe he is, if he, like Tyson Chandler said, he has a chance to be the best player in the league, then he needs to carry that team to the playoffs. He has some nice ancillary pieces around him. Courtney Lee is a nice veteran. Kyle O'Quinn is playing lights out. Kance is playing at a very high level and playing some defense. And by the way, if Kance is playing defense, and I'm so glad a lot of people are kind of quieting down about the Billy needs to get on the court shit. I don't believe in that. And I'm not old school, like you need to earn your way, No, the Knicks are playing well. They have chemistry, which is developing. And Kyle O'Quinn is playing like an animal. Kance is playing like an animal. They are bullying people. It's about wins, folks. That don't mean you don't develop Hernangomez. Like Jeff Van Gundy said, having him the third player is good for his development. He needs to work. So if you start to see Willie Hernangomez play ahead of Kyle O'Quinn, that's because he's working. That's because he's outworking him. That's because he's doing the things that the coaching staff is asking him to do, which can turn him into a really, really good player in this league. You can't just throw players in like that unless you have no one. Frank Ntilikina, you notice his minutes are being increased slowly but surely. And by the way, speaking of Frank Ntilikina, we can hold off on the nickname because you know what? Most players get nicknames based on how they play. They called Kristaps the Unicorn because he was a 7'3" guy that played like a small forward, which is crazy. It's never been seen before. That's why they called him the Unicorn. You know, one of the names I think I mentioned before in the previous podcast that I like a lot is Air Jordan. I just think that's crazy. Air. What's better than Air Jordan? Anyway, I already spoke on that. But, you know, so as far as giving Frank Ntilikina a nickname, he don't need a nickname. He need to perform. Then we'll come up with a nickname. He don't need one. That's reserved for players that's doing shit. That's reserved for players that's actually doing things. Why did they call Gary Payton the Glove? Which is another great one. Why did they call him the Glove? Because he was one of the best defensive point guards in history. But he didn't get that title coming into the league. Actually, his first few years, he was struggling. But once he got a handle of it, he became a great, great defensive player and offensive. And I think Frank Ntilikina, like I said, he has the potential to be an elite defender. So, speaking of Frank, wow, this is Segway Heaven. It's like I'm going right into the next segment, right? You know, I want to take this time out because I'm still hearing people say they wish the Knicks would have drafted Dennis Smith. And this segment is reserved for not so smart Knicks fans. And that's the best way I can put it. Knicks fans are hilarious to me. I hear all the Knicks fans say, we need defense. We need defense. We need defense. You see how bad Derrick Rose defense is there at Cleveland? We need defense. So we're going to sign a guy. And if you look it up, Dennis Smith was one of the worst defensive players in college last year. We're going to sign another guy who's similar to Derrick Rose, doesn't play D, and a scoring point guard. Okay, go ahead. Coming off of ACL surgery, who depends on his athleticism to score. Let me tell you something. You know, Frank had the highest plus-minus yesterday. Even though I don't love those plus-minus things, but he still had the highest. And it's probably because, if you notice, every time teams bring it up against him, he's very disruptive to the point guard. He messes up the offense, and you have to reset the offense. That does a lot. That slows the team's pace down. That fucks them up, straight up. He needs to get better offensively, but defensively, I told you, this is what's going to have him on the court right now. It's what got Kawhi Leonard on the court, and it gives you time to work on your offensive game. It's what got Shumpert on the court. Unfortunately, Shumpert was trash when it came to offense. Then he had those injuries, which derailed him physically as far as defense. But let me read something to you as far as Dennis Smith, since everybody keeps saying the Knicks should have drafted Dennis Smith. He has played 8 games. He's averaging 28 minutes a game. He's shooting 38% from 2-point. He's shooting 25% from 3-point. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. His overall field goal percentage is 38%. He's shooting 25% from 3-point land, and he's shooting 45% from 2, which is not too bad, shooting 45% from 2-point land. He's shooting 3.1 free throw attempts a game, and let me make sure this is correct. His free throw percentage is 52%. That's ridiculous, 52%. I'm sure all of those numbers. Now, don't get me wrong. He's averaging 5 assists a game. You know, he's averaging 3.6 turnovers. So you need to pay attention to those things. So right now, he's not off to a rousing start. That team, I think, is 1-7 or something like that. And this is not to tear him down. This is just to say the player his player efficiency rating is 9.0. It's 9. League average is 15. So basically, he's not even an NBA player right now. He's not an average NBA player right now. Now, Frank's numbers are probably worse. However, Frank has a smaller sample size. And remember, Frank didn't play in the preseason. He didn't play in the summer league. So the minutes he's getting now, he's still in he needs at least 5 more games before he really gets into it. However, I just want to say these young players, Malik Monk is not tearing up the league. If we had Dennis Smith, everybody say why we didn't draft Malik Monk. Oh, look at Frank Ntilikina and his long arms. Knicks fans are always wanting somebody who ain't on their team. What the hell's wrong with y'all? Dennis Smith is a young player, just like Ntilikina is a young player. And you're not going to see great things from them when they're so young. You're just not going to see that. And I think Dennis Smith can be a good player in this league. Maybe he could be a star. Maybe. It's hard, folks. It's not easy being great in the NBA. Just because you've seen him do a few dunks in the layup line, he doesn't play defense. I can tell you that straight up. So anyway, I just wanted to put that information out there. A lot of people think that he's burning up the league, and he's not. Even Lonzo Ball, who I think is going to be a really good player in this league, he's not really tearing it up because he's a rookie. He's a rookie. There's not people like Magic Johnson. Come on, that's Magic fucking Johnson. When he came in the league, yeah, he tore it up. Plus, he had Kareem already on his team. But a lot of people are not on that level. Plus, when Magic Johnson came in the league, I think he played 3 years in Michigan or Michigan State. One of the two, I'm not sure. Y'all can correct me in the comment section. It's fine. Players back in the days came in the league as grown men. Take this into account when you think of Frank Ntilikina. He's 19 and in a foreign country, on the biggest stage in that foreign country, which is United States, the biggest stage, which is New York. 19 years old. We got to give him credit for not wetting the pants so far. Come on, man. Anyway, it was a great game the Knicks played last night. I enjoyed it, watching Kristaps go end to end, blocking a shot and dunking. You know, I mean, he's realizing his potential. And this is just the surface, folks. This is just the surface. I told you he'll average 26 points a game. I think 24 to 26, he may come down to that eventually. But I do believe in the coming years, I can see him averaging 30 points a game as he gets stronger and even more mature. And the key to averaging 30 points a game is not working so hard. The key to averaging 30 points a game is efficiency. Hitting a few more threes. There's something he's doing that I really love. These short players, these teams that want to play small, he's just destroying them. He's a matchup nightmare. Oh, you want to put a 6'8" guard on him? Forward on him, he's going to shoot over him. Oh, you want to put a 7-footer on him? He's going to drive by him. That's why I like him at the power forward position. Let Cantor bang, 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 bang against these players, these other players, and let Kristaps do his thing. I love the 1-2 punch that they have developing right there. But, nice win. We got Indiana coming up Sunday. I would like to see them get over 500. That would be very nice. And continue playing well. Tim Hardaway, even though he didn't have a great shooting game, he was 6 for 15. He got to the free throw line. I like the fact that he shot 11 3-pointers. I love it. Because I think he needs to shoot about 10 3-pointers a game. Good open 3-pointers, but make some. If he makes 3 out of 10, that's 3.5 or 4 out of 10. Well, 4 out of 10 would be 40%. But let's just say he makes 3 out of 9. That's a good percentage of 3-point shooting, and that will let him be an efficient player, and that also would open up his drives to the rim. So it's important that he shoots those threes, but he needs to hit them. And it's crazy. I'm seeing Courtney Lee pull up off the dribble. I never used to see him do that. He's been really, really playing well. So again, I wanted him to come off the bench, and I questioned Hornacek, but I got to say more power to you, Hornacek. You got that one right so far. So even though he gives up a lot of size, he makes up for it in speed and effort. I got to say. I think our defense have gotten better because we have better wing defenders at this point. So, again, very good win against Phoenix. I'm looking forward to a big win against Indiana. That'll be nice. And it's a homestand, and I hope they can keep going. And now you're gonna see in the New York media and across, they're gonna start really just sweating KP. They're gonna come out the woodwork now. They're gonna overdo it. First they underdo it, then they're gonna overdo it. Watch. You're gonna see it happen. It's coming. They're gonna start overdoing it. Oh, KP is this and KP is that, and that's fine. He can handle it because he wants to be great. And somebody has said, by the way, you don't hear Stephen A. Smith saying nothing. It's a travesty. Why did we draft this guy? And, God, never heard a guy who gets so much attention has been wrong 90% of the time. You know why? Because he's a sideshow, but I digress. I'm not going to talk shit about the man. I talked enough shit about the man. Anyway, just wanted to put a couple of things out there. This has been Knicks Home Court. I'm your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 63. And by the way, I will soon be putting these podcasts on SoundCloud. It's the first one I'm going to put it on. And I'm looking in the future to have a call-in. Maybe not every show, maybe once a month, and I'll let you know. Maybe I'll do it after a game, something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm still trying to formulate that. So, there's been a change in my schedule, so I have to deal with that, because this I do for fun. I do this. This is the conversation I'm having with y'all guys out there. You put your comments and I say something back. I do it for fun, but I got a job, folks. So I have to make sure I have the time to put that in. I have 3 jobs. I have my job. I have my 2 kids. So, yeah, I'm busy as far as that. But I love my Knicks, and I like to share information. And this Knick podcast is for intelligent Knick fans. This is for Knick fans that just don't hear what they're saying and believe it. And regurgitate ESPN's talking points. This is not the podcast for that. This is the podcast from someone who I look at the stats. I read the stats. I listen to intelligent basketball folks, and I learn from them, and I try to put that information out there for y'all. So that's that. Everybody enjoy their weekend. Let's hope we get a win against Indiana, and I'll speak to y'all later. Peace.